Welcome to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie.
Sometimes traveling for work is actually work.
Absolutely. And when Kate and I go to conferences, which we do more than I think I realize, somebody was like, how many conferences have you been to this year? And I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, I guess more than I thought. So we love going to conferences. We go to regional conferences. We go to local conferences, national conferences, statewide conferences, international conferences. And we realized we've never really talked about what it's like for us when we're at a conference. We've talked about why you should go to conferences, why you should bring your staff to conferences, but we've never talked about what it's like for us as authors and director, coaches, and mentors, what it's like for us at the conference. So, and trainers, what is our official title? Are we coaches? Are we consultants? Are we trainers? I mean, we do all of those things.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Absolutely. So I think that's a great point, Carrie. I mean, sometimes we get really bad hat head, and I think that
we're also podcasters. So that's 5 different things.
Yeah. And we have friends who we network with at conventions that also do wear multiple hats. And I think the biggest thing to realize is every conference you're going to get something out of, and knowing ahead of time why you're going, what hat you're wearing, is probably pretty helpful. And I know that we just got back from Chicago. And so, Carrie, tell me a little bit about Chicago. Why was Chicago a place that we went to? What were we doing in Chicago?
So we went to the Childcare Success Summit, which is put on every year by the Childcare Success Academy, which is an organization that's designed to support owners across the world, really, not just in the United States. So it was one of our international conferences, and it's all about giving owners the support they need to do their job. And then the owners usually bring 1 or 2 members of their leadership team. And so it's for owners and leaders in early childcare that are, for the most part, independently owned, but there were some franchisees, and one franchisor that I know for sure was there also. So that was an interesting thing. I did not expect any franchisors to be students of the Childcare Success Academy. That was a surprise. But you know, they pay their fees and they have 3 schools. And so I guess they learn what they learn and then they share it with the franchisees, I guess. I don't know how that works. And we did our most recent book launch, the soft book launch. We did our first book signing for Don't Chase the Monkey, which is our newest book. And I know some of you are going, wait, weren't they just talking about a new book like last episode? It wasn't last episode. It was several episodes ago, like 6
August.
or 7 or
August.
Yeah, it was back in August. And yes, we did have a book that we launched back in August that was for anybody who is a manager or entrepreneur. So not just childcare specific. And this one we wrote in part because people were like, great, we're so glad to hear it. But when is the monkey book coming? When are we getting a monkey book? And we went, okay, apparently we need to write the monkey book now, which was not the next book we were planning to write. But you guys asked for monkey books, and so we wrote a monkey book, and we signed about 200 books at that conference at the Childcare Success Summit. So I think that part absolutely went really well.
We really enjoyed getting to meet people from all over the globe. We met folks from New Zealand and from Canada, as well as pretty much every state. And so I think that knowing we had the ability to have those conversations professionally was great. Now, why would we be there if we are, for those of you who have been listening to us or know us, go, wait, you guys are in Texas. Well, we are physically located in Texas, but did you know that we have actually been coaching and consulting directors in Ohio, New Hampshire, and in Oklahoma for over 20 years? So not just in Texas. And we are really, really excited to be able to move Director Success Academy nationally. Carrie, what does that mean? What is Director Success Academy? Why are we doing something national?
Well, Director Success Academy is the national version of what we've been doing here in Texas. So there you go, short and sweet, taking care of it. So it is a company that offers training that is written specifically for directors. It offers coaching and consulting, and more importantly, mentoring for directors so that you get the support that you need. And there's lots of different versions of that. And you can have as much support or as little support as you want. But I'm going to talk about I think it's the Platinum program. So in the Platinum program, you have lifetime access to all of our courses. And again, there's new courses being written all the time, specifically for directors and management team. So it's not written from the ownership perspective. It's not written from the classroom perspective. It is written from the people who are managing the program: curriculum coordinators, directors, assistant directors, all office managers, those people. What are the courses that you guys need? And we've got, I don't know, like 400 hours, I think, available right now. Maybe more than that, of training that you can get. And again, it'll be growing every year. So lifetime access to that, access to ongoing director support and mentoring, group mentoring, something we call, what do we call that? Everybody gets together and says what they did really well calls once a month.
Those are the joy calls. And you know what? That's actually one of my favorite items, because we are both on probably a bazillion list groups, etc. And so we see the directors all around the country that are literally crying, wanting to quit, don't understand why they're here. They don't feel appreciated. And I just want to go to them and go, but I am sure that you have done something awesome. Your program has, your staff has, you have. Look at the kids in your program. And if somebody doesn't help you bring that to the front, it's really easy to get really kind of stuck in the mud and grumpy and grouchy. And, you want your chocolate and your coffee cake and your coffee and your soda, and you want all the stuff because you have forgotten why you're here. And sometimes it's just that one little toddler that brings you a flower or a painting or that special crystal rock that reminds you why you're here. And if somebody doesn't help you find your crystal rock, that's what we're here for. Boy, that sounded like maybe I got crystal rocks on the, anyway.
I don't know what's going on with her. She's having a little bit of a new age moment here. But,
we watched too much of Agatha, whatever her name is.
Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, that one.
So we have group problem solving calls, group joy calls, and then you have a pod. So a few people that are sort of your accountability partners. And yes, you have a coach in there who's actually doing coaching, not
teaching.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the problems I had at this event was people telling me what they were getting from other providers who were offering support to the owners, the directors, or the teachers, and people were using the wrong terms. It's like people saying, "Hey, I hear you run a nursery," and your hair just like goes on end.
Or you're a babysitter.
Oh yeah, you're a babysitter. And it drives me crazy, because if somebody is a coach, they are giving you activities to do to build a skill, and they are asking you questions about your challenges and getting you to think about it. If somebody is coaching you, that's what they're supposed to be doing, giving you activities to do and asking you questions so that you can grow. Yes, Kate, are you raising your hand?
I am raising my hand. So I know that a lot of people will use the term certified, credentialed, or whatever, but I will ask you as a director or even an owner listening to the podcast to go read the International Coaching Federation's guidelines. Go understand what their code of ethics is, because as somebody who is a coach and a trainer and a consultant, I'm very clear which hat I'm wearing. And again, words matter. It's all about early learning leadership. Well, we want our vocabulary to be respected professionally. And you know what? Coaches across the globe have been fighting for this for almost 25 years as well. And so we do get kind of a little picky when people start putting coach behind their name, or even certified or credentialed coach.
And when they say that they're doing a monthly coaching call, and then when they describe what they're going to as the person receiving that service, and they say, yeah, so the coach gets on and they train us for an hour on a concept, and then we have a 15-minute Q&A. I'm like, oh my God, that's not a coach, that's a trainer, or that maybe is a mentor, but it is not a coach. So,
or maybe it's some group coaching in there. But let me help you guys figure this out. If you're not sure, think about professional sports coaches. Now, professional sports coaches are not usually prior professional athletes, right? So you can be somebody who coaches multi-million dollar businesses and not necessarily have done that, but you are really good at steering them in the right direction. And you know what? That is exactly what happens with professional athletes. Now, somebody who's a consultant, hopefully you're getting consulting from somebody who's actually done what you're asking them for. That doesn't mean that you may not have 3 or 4 consultants, right, Carrie? Because I mean, if I'm going to go buy property in another state, or I'm going to build a childcare center versus maybe a 24-hour childcare center, or I was going to say a 24-hour childcare center that takes 6 children, right? Like both of those similar, but they're going to be different enough that I'm going to have some different needs. So I am perfectly fine that there are so many awesome programs for owners to get support. We met owners at this conference who are part of all of them. I mean, they have literally their own coaches from at least 6 different owner support coaching initiatives, because they need them for different things, right? So some of them are specialized more in marketing, some are more in finance, some are more growth, enthusiasm, that kind of piece. And you know what we do? We do directors, only directors. Doesn't mean that you can't be an owner director, but we are here for you as the director. So if you're a little envious because your owner gets to go to Jamaica or Chicago or Orlando or Las Vegas or Reno, I'm trying to think of where some of the others have been recently, Miami, and you're like, I want to go to those places, and they're like, oh, it's just for owners. You know what? That's how you know that they value that coaching process, that mentoring, and that support. And if you are the captain of the ship, and Carrie used this analogy over the course of the weekend, and I've stolen it, but if you're the captain of the ship, you need somebody helping you, right? You need that guidance system. Well, just think of us as kind of your GPS. And, you can use a good old-fashioned compass if you want, but I need you to at least have a compass. Please don't get out there and try to do it on your own, and remember to sharpen your pencil.
Yep. Okay. So that was us getting kind of on a soapbox, and I took us on that tangent, and I apologize, but let's talk more about what the conference is like from a vendor perspective. Like, what is it that we hope to get when we go to conferences? And what are we doing? That whole, your staff think that you just sit in the office and relax and eat bonbons. And I'm sure that there are people who go to conferences and they think that the vendors just sit in their booth while you're off learning stuff, eating bonbons. There's tricycle racing, but not so much eating of bonbons.
Or some monkey tossing. We had monkey cornhole.
But an awful lot of what we're doing is we're getting to know the other vendors so that when a director comes to us and asks, hey, I'm having an issue with, I want to put cameras in my schools. How do you suggest I do that? We've got some vendors that we've talked to, and we know the pros and cons because they've told us. And we've talked to multiple different vendors who have the cameras, or I'm not happy with the software I'm using for my school management, or I need my insurance rates went up 800%, and I need to see if there's any other insurance brokers who could maybe find me something that's less than 800 times, or I need financing. Like, there's all kinds of things. And so we're meeting other vendors and getting to know them so that we know who might be a good resource for you. What else are we doing other than playing games? So we do play games and we meet vendors. What else do we do? Why do we go?
I mean, one of the reasons that we go is ultimately we want to make sure that the services that we provide meet your needs. So we ask a lot of questions. We get to know the participants who are there. Now, I really, there were like 1,200 people, and I didn't get to have anywhere close to 1,200 conversations. I maybe had 200 people swing by the booth. So I was looking to gather more data and to hear more stories. I like to hear the absolutely the positive things, but I also want to know your struggles, because Carrie and I, we spend a lot of time in childcare centers, but we'd like to spend more, and we'd like to hear from different types of programs. So, multiple locations, multiple states. We love to hear what you guys are doing that really gets you excited. If you've got 9 in one state and you found out what people were paying in another state and you've decided that's it, in 3 weeks, I'm going to that state and I'm finding myself some property. You know what? I love those stories. Those are great to have. And it gets us excited, and we learn things. We learn things from you, and we like to be able to share.
Yep. Let me see if there's anything else. I mean, we do hope to sell some of whatever it is that we've brought. So at this conference, it was mostly about our director support. So we were hoping to support more directors, and so get some contracts to support some directors. We also brought some of our books, because that's part of how we position ourselves as people who know stuff, because we've written multiple best-selling books and we kind of know some stuff, having done this for decades. And now we're putting some of that into book form so that we can be a little bit of a mentor for you, even if you're not yet ready to hire us on as your support team. That's okay. We'll help you as much as we can when we can, right? Anything else that we expect when we go to a conference? Because maybe the person listening to this today is putting on their local childcare conference, and they need to know what to talk to potential vendors about. What else do vendors want to know?
I think that's a great question, and asking the vendors what they're coming there for, and really be honest to yourself whether or not this is a good investment for them. So if they're just coming to build a list, so it might be somebody, I'm going to use a realtor as an example. Realtors or business brokers may come with the whole goal to just add people to their list. Now, you know what? Hopefully they're doing something with that list, right? We've met people, vendors over the past probably 7 or 8 years that are building a list, but we've never, ever seen them send an email. It's an interesting thing. However, there are going to be other people who sell product. And so if they're coming to your conference to sell a product, be honest with them. Let them know, hey, day one, we've got, maybe 100 owners and directors who might have buying power decision. But day two, even though we've got 400 people coming, they're going to be all teachers. So depending on what the product is they sell, if they sell t-shirts, perfect, right? But if they're selling books for directors, right, day two isn't going to be a really good fit. If they're selling planners or something like that, can they sell enough potentially where that booth makes sense financially? So again, understanding, is this marketing? Is this list development? Is this sales? because all of those can happen at a conference. We had one vendor that we talked to who said, yeah, we closed deals at this conference, but they're with people who we've been talking to for 3 and 4 years. So even though to them, the conference was successful, they've been building those relationships for 4 years. So it wasn't one and done type of success. Does that make sense? Is that helpful to those of you who are thinking about asking some vendors to be part of maybe a local or state affiliate conference, or maybe you're just hosting your own?
Yep. So, and finding ones that are aligned with you. So if you are a play-based organization or a play-based organization, then having Handwriting Without Tears have a booth at your school or at your event, is probably not a great partnership, because Handwriting Without Tears, I know that's not their company name anymore, but that organization is not all about play. It is about developing a specific set of skills and overcoming dysgraphia and dyslexia and dyscalculia, right? They have a very particular thing that they're working on, and it is not all about emergent curriculum and play. So make sure that the vendors that you're reaching out to align with what you're trying to do. So the vendors at the conference in Chicago were different than what we see at statewide AEYCs, right? Because the people who were coming were primarily owners and directors. There's almost no frontline staff. And so things that would be impulse buys for a classroom teacher, like, oh my gosh, this is one that was definitely an impulse buy for me at a conference one time, was discount school supply. Their watercolors and their markers are the same exact color. So if a kid leaves a marker out overnight, I can dip it in that watercolor and it will rehydrate the marker. And I was like, say less, give me more. And so I bought a whole bunch of those because that solved a problem for me, because I ran a 2-year-old classroom. And if I'm running a 2-year-old classroom, nobody's remembering to put lids on markers on a regular basis. Even though I had the marker parker, we still had issues. So that would be an impulse buy thing that would make a lot of sense if you've got classroom teachers, frontline staff as most of your attendees. So frontline staff aren't buying school-wide software. Frontline staff are not buying playground equipment. So the playground,
they're not looking for finance to open their 3rd, 4th, or 5th center.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to match who's coming as vendors to who's coming as attendees. And it's been very frustrating the couple of times we've gone to conferences and they said, this is who's coming. And then we showed up and that was not who was in the building. I don't know who they thought was coming, but it was not who actually showed up. And then you have to completely scramble and try to figure it out. What can I sell that makes sense for the clientele that have actually showed up here? Because I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars to come to this event. I can't afford to just throw that money away. I need to figure out something to sell to these people that is going to make sense.
Absolutely. Well, if you ever have questions, or you think that Kate and Carrie might make interesting conference presenters, keynotes, or even a vendor at your conference, give us a call. Kate and Carrie at Childcare Conversations is our email. That's probably the best way to reach us. But if you have anything else to say, or you want to do what, Carrie?
Share the show with people who need to know. All you got to do is just shoot it to them in a text message, email, whatever you like. Heck, if you have the right apps, you can just tap your phone to somebody else's phone. Let people know about the show. And if you enjoyed it, or if you have a question, go on to whatever podcasting app you're listening to and review this show, because that really helps other people know that we're kind of interesting occasionally.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie. Want to learn more? Check out our website at texasdirector.org. And if you've learned anything today, leave us a comment below and share the show.